What's up, everybody? Here for another podcast episode. Today, we're going to be talking about the season of giving and how that relates to being a union member and being a good soldier, if you will, or a good brother and sister uh, for your fellow workers. Before I get into that, I just want to tell a couple little funny anecdotes. So today I kick off my day. I was being kind of lazy, kind of been back to my bachelor days the past week. I'm here alone for a while. And so anyway, I had to run some errands and walk in a gas station to get a couple of things. And I'm still in my PJs. I'm wearing my Indiana Pacers sweatpants and like this plain white T-shirt I still got on now, and the hat, and I have my glasses on, and this handsome little Vans sweatshirt, hooded sweatshirt. Anyway, this chick had like a couple things in her hand, an iced coffee. She takes one look at me as I walk in, and I don't know if it's because she thought I was really attractive and sexy, or if I just look a little disheveled, like I just woken up, or what. But anyway, literally, it's almost like she fucking threw it out of her hand. But anyway, this iced coffee like glides right out of her hand and bust all over the floor and the shelf of I don't know if it's damaging merchandise or not at this gas station. I felt sorry for the poor clerk who had to come over and help her clean it up. See, I don't know what that was about, but that was the first, that it ever had something like that happen to me. And so I don't know if it's because she thought I was attractive, or like if I just caught this girl off guard as I walk in, or it's just another customer. But yeah, so kind of a funny start to the day there. And then tonight, went and saw the Peanuts movie, and I just wanted to recommend it because man, it was really lighthearted and it was fun, and there were some serious undertones to the movie as well. But Snoopy and Charlie Brown and Lucy, Lionel, all the characters that were in the film, I think they did a pretty good job of staying true to Charles Schulz's vision of the original Peanuts comic strip, and I just want to recommend it to anyone, whether you have kids, whether you don't. Um, Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. It's something you watch, and it'll leave a big smile on your face as you leave the theater. Good to see a film like that, and just forget about all the crap that's been in the news lately, with guns and terrorism and mass shootings and all that negativity that's out there. It's good to know there's still things like, Peanuts, Snoopy and Charlie Brown, and just good old-fashioned storytelling that can leave a smile on your face. So I'm going to talk a little bit about unions here, and I got a stopwatch going so I know how much time I got and everything. I'm not going to go over today. Going to try to be concise about everything. But really, what gets me is we got a lot of people in this country who are really capitalist. And they believe very strongly in the private sector. They think the free market can solve all of society's ills, almost to the extent that they think they worship at the holy altar of the free market as if it's some kind of religious deity. And the thing that I don't get is, if you're that much of a capitalist, and you believe in a free market and a profit motive and all that kind of thing, a lot of those same people, it's just mind-blowing to me, but a lot of those same people, the super capitalists, if you will, who believe the free market could solve everything, a lot of them do not support unions, and this is very counterintuitive. I don't get it at all, because if you have a strong free market and you live in a capitalist country where profit motive kind of reigns supreme in most sectors of life, common sense tells us that if we have more people who are part of the labor movement, more workers who are organized, who Have you ever heard the phrase, together we bargain, divided we beg? Well, think about it. This is the 21st century. I'm talking to a lot of millennials here, and even, of course, the younger people who aren't millennials, but also even people who are a little older. I'm sure you've all had jobs that were kind of, things that what you call shit job, or stuff that just kind of helped get you by. Or maybe you even had a position and you liked the company you worked for, you liked your job, but you didn't think you were being paid well enough or treated well enough in terms of employee benefits, health care, and those kind of things. But think about it. It's common sense when you're negotiating. If you have a union and you have representation and you can go in collectively as a body of workers and say you got 600 people negotiating for wages, you're going to have a lot more strength than you would by yourself going and talking to your boss and trying to tell him why you're so valuable and why you deserve better pay. It's really common sense. It's a no-brainer, but a lot of people they still don't get it. And it racks my brains. How can you be such capitalists but not be for unions? I mean, we've got to have checks and balances. The founders of this country understood that when they wrote the Constitution. That's why they had the separations of powers of the judicial, legislative, and executive branches. And you've got to have checks and balances in the capitalist economy as well. How do you do that? Well, you do it with unions. So what's the best thing you can do this holiday season in the spirit of giving to help out your brothers and sisters? Well, it's real simple, folks. Join a union. And, no matter what your trade is, whether you're in retail, sales, working in a factory, whatever it may be, even in an office setting, there are unions out there who represent, more likely than not, the industry that you're in. Of course, there aren't unions in every industry. And there's some people who don't need unions because maybe they're being treated well and they like where they're at. And, an old saying I learned when I was shop steward and union organizer and the Communication Workers of America when I worked at AT&T is that, thanks Craig, my buddy, taught me, is that any company that has a union deserves one. If there's a union there, it's because the workers, at least half of them, more than half, wanted them there and they wanted to help negotiate for wages and better benefits. But the bottom line is, when you have more of a strong union presence, workers have better pay and benefits, better conditions. If you think back to the 50s and 60s when we had a strong labor movement and around 30 to 35% of workers in this country were organized, we had a strong middle class then. Ever since, they've been beaten up on unions, and we've had this race to the bottom with globalization and the offshoring of jobs, factories being closed. That began in, the late 70s and the 80s when these trade agreements started. Reagan was in office. Ever since, that trend has gone the way it has, and it seems like it's gotten tougher and tougher for workers as jobs have been offshored and unions have been busted up. We've seen what's happened as our middle class has disappeared. I wanted to talk about a couple of headlines that were in real headlines from the news this week. One of them being that you've got the 20 billionaires in this country who now have as much wealth as the lower 50% of the United States population. Now, isn't that obscene and gross to think about? 20 billionaires with as much wealth as the lower half of the population? I mean, why do you think that is? Could it be because union membership is, 10.5% nationwide, and you've got fewer and fewer workers who, are able to negotiate for fair pay? I think that has a lot to do with it, and you see those trend lines there. If you look at economic inequality in this country and the wealth line. And by the way, those of you who are Donald Trump supporters or you don't believe in unions, I got a quote here for you. There's a sucker born every minute. That's from P.T. Barnum, one of the creators of Barnum and Bailey Circus. Other headline I wanted to read to you real quick here. Good times are back for American auto workers after a long and painful road. This is from the 4th, December 4th. So just yesterday, a couple days ago. I guess you'll be watching this on Sunday. And it talks about how new agreements between GM and United Auto Workers are going to help raise the pay wage for a lot of these workers that had to take decreases or take less pay, especially affected more of the new workers. But I really can't read it all because I'm running out of time, unfortunately. But thanks to a newly approved contract between GM and United Auto Workers, Ramos slated to earn $30 an hour by 2019. It's talking about how he's making $17.86 now. It'll go up to $21 an hour with the new labor agreement that was just signed. And they're talking about how they're going to phase out a lot of the 2- and 3-tiered wage systems that they had to, things they had to agree to during the Great Recession when the auto industry was really getting beat up. So what's the best thing you could do during this season of giving? It's to join a union. You can, and by the way, folks, you can always join as an at-large member. You can go to the websites of any union that you're interested in